Hello and welcome to the video interview series by Women Who Win, a global media platform to empower women. I'm your host, Tamanna Raisinghani from Santa Barbara, California, and I'm a software engineer by profession. Today, I'll be in conversation with Meera Vijayann, who writes on health and gender issues. She has contributed to national and international discussions on the issue of gender rights and violence in India. In 2013, she won the CNN-IBN Citizen Journalism Award for her reportage of the protests that followed the Delhi gang rape. Currently, she lives in Seattle, Washington, and works as a freelance writer. She was one of the winners for Medium's Writer Challenge Award last year for her essay, The Space Between My Fingers. I'm pleased to welcome her on the show today to talk about the burning question about women's safety in India after the brutal assault and gang rape on a moving bus in the national capital. Hi, Meera. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Tamanna.
I'm really excited to have you on the show, especially after watching your TED Talk, Finding Your Voice Against Gender Violence, where you spoke about what is it really to be a young woman in India by sharing your personal experience of sexual abuse and violence. It requires a lot of courage to do that, I'm sure. Not just that, you also talked about how women can use social media platform effectively to raise their voice against abuse. Nirbhaya rape case that shook the nation in year 2012 became the catalyst of change for so many women who came out to protest and raise voice against the heinous crime, demanding justice, more stringent rape laws, and fast-track court for such cases. Do you think anything changed after that in terms of women's safety? Like what needed to be done and what actually got done during that time?
Well, personally, I don't think enough has been done because soon after the Delhi gang rape, and I remember this very frequently, the morale of the country was very low. And I remember all of us taking to the streets. The one good thing was, the Justice Verma committee was formed, and it was led by Justice Verma, who was then the Chief Justice. And everyone thought that we'd make progressive laws and then, we'd somehow try to kind of curb sexual violence. But that's not how it works, because in India, trying to put together and change criminal law is one thing, but also implement the laws is another thing. It was one of those moments where you could not ignore this problem anymore. It was more than a problem. It was something so systemic in our homes, in our streets, in our classrooms. It was everywhere. And people really pressured the government to do something about it. 3-member committee, they put together a lot of these, they went and amended criminal law, and they looked at acid attacks. They looked at how anti-rape legislation needs to change, a lot of those things. But then, this is so high level. A lot of our problems stem from the grassroots. Like, we are a very traditional society. So change needs to happen within families. So in that regard, we have a long, long way to go, because our behaviors, our mindset, all of those things need to change as a society, as a community. And while there is change happening very slowly, it's not catching up to where the law is right now. So that is definitely a huge problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. Things don't change overnight. These things
Yeah,
take
they
time.
definitely don't. Yeah.
But it did start though.
That is one good thing, right? Like we had sexual harassment at work when we, now it's recognized. And that was thanks to Bhavri Devi and the idea that a woman who stood up against this huge, powerful system in India, which was like very anti-woman at a time back 20, 30 years ago, is like, I feel like we often are always looking for that one person who will make that change. And, with our sexual harassment laws, that's how they came to place. And with Nirbhaya case, everyone thought, okay, this will be another moment where that one case changes the whole nation, and things change overnight, but it doesn't change overnight.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So why do you think that such cases of abuse and molestation are, brushed under the carpet in India, in our society especially?
I think there's a lot of complex layers to it, right? Like, it's not merely that we are a traditional society. We are a society that is uh, ethnically, religiously, we are so diverse, and we're all trying to coexist. And all of us have different beliefs, different honor systems, different ways of approaching life. And one of the most unique threads that connects everybody is that the family is a very traditional unit, and the woman plays a certain role within it. So whether it's a young man or a young woman who's getting assaulted, they're discouraged to talk about it because it affects the family's honor, it affects the family's status in society. There are so many aspects in which that family unit must be protected at all costs. And I think that's one of the reasons why we often brush abuse under the carpet. And why within marriages they might still tolerate abuse, because it's like sake of it's like the honor of the family depends again on the position of the woman. So I think there are so many complexities to how we approach our role as a family in the diaspora, or in as Indians, or in the South Asian diaspora in general. That is one of the reasons why we don't consider abuse as important as honor, and that is very troubling.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a youth ambassador and a gender right activist, what do you think some of the ways we can make India safe for women?
I think that's a question that's, first of all, it's a very hard question for a lot of people in the advocacy sector to kind of answer. Because if you look at it, I'll take the Equal Community Foundation of India, which is working with boys. I remember a long time ago, I mean, this is a data point that was quite some time ago, so I'm not sure if it has changed, but less than 5% of India's NGOs work with men. And we are talking about sexual violence, which is so systemic in India. And a lot of perpetrators, a majority of perpetrators are men, but yet men are not involved in the conversation. Men are not seen as part of the solution. They're not even seen as a big part of the problem. It's often, we talk about, women's rights, women being victims, women being survivors. But where is the violence coming from, right? Like, I think one of the things that is a very, very important thing to do is to encourage young boys and men to be part of the conversation of reducing sexual violence and curbing sexual violence in the country. And that is very, very important, and that starts at home.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that is definitely a huge parameter to moving the needle on curbing sexual assault.
Yeah, and I saw some of the pictures of the protest that you covered in Bangalore, and I was surprised to see a lot of men in that protest where they were dressed up like women. So I really like that, men also were part of that protest.
Yeah. And I
So,
think that's one of the huge steps that the Delhi gang rape really kind of fractured, because a lot of young men also understand that this is a problem and that men are part of the problem.
yeah,
And it's like, those conversations are happening in cities. This conversation is happening in pockets which are educated, which are progressive. But, we take the larger country, that you're handling a huge monster. You're handling a very traditional country, which is very founded on ancient beliefs. And really, those men that you saw on the photograph, we need that to quadruple. And we need those young men to be like the leaders of tomorrow, the role models of tomorrow, so that so more men feel comfortable coming forward and, talking about how such a society affects them too,
yeah,
how it's not in their favor to kind of be being always seen as perpetrators, or,
yes,
have healthy relationships with women.
So, another thing I would like to ask is, what are your views on the Me Too movement that gained momentum in India after the international Me Too movement started in 2017?
So the interesting thing was I was in the US when the Me Too movement happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very fascinating to me that when women here talk about holding power to account, that we're talking about really big people. We're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and we're talking about Harvey Weinstein, and Bill Cosby, and all of these like huge celebrity figures who hold a lot of power and influence, and of course have abused women, like generations of women, like because of the power they held. What was interesting to me is that Indian women were also coming out
Mm-hmm.
with their own Me Too stories. A lot of them shared it, and the response somehow is very different, because the way we look at power is like we're so accustomed to people in power taking advantage of us
Mm-hmm.
in India.
Yeah.
Now, it is not merely the Harvey Weinsteins and the Jeffrey Epsteins of India. It's not merely the government officials. Women often mistrust institutions and people in power anyway, like
Yeah.
because they don't trust people in power to kind of do the right thing. They expect that of people in power,
Yeah.
that sense of like we trust our institution, that we trust a movement to bring someone down is not there. And the difference that difference played a huge role in how people in India were perceiving, or women I was talking to, my own friends, were perceiving the Me Too movement versus how women here were perceiving the Me Too movement and the Times Up movement and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with our Indian communities, whether it's in India or here, the power often begins not at that level. Like when we think of power, the power begins at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a struggle that begins at home still, and I think that was a huge difference, because people who are saying Me Too, for them it was a huge thing to say Me Too. This happened within our family. This
Yeah.
happened in our school. This happened because of this uncle, or
I know. Yeah.
even to like break that question, that power within a family unit is very, very hard. And I think that is one step that was being taken in the Indian Me Too movement, which I think is very, very important. Though the lives of American women are very different,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
the fights and
Absolutely.
struggles are the same, but the complexity is very different.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that definitely stood out to me.
Yes, I agree with you. Thank you so much, Meera. I'm really glad that we could have this conversation on this important topic, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Samana. It was nice talking to you.
Hello, viewers. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And do visit our website, womenwhowin100.com. You can also write to us, womenwhowin100@gmail.com, if you have any inspiring ideas or stories to share. I look forward to hear from you and hope to see you all next time.